Hey everyone, Drew here, and welcome back to DCS World, where today we'll be once more in the A10C, where we'll be taking a look at air-to-ground rocketry. Let's get to work. Alright my friends, welcome back to the front office of the A10C, where we will briefly discuss rockets, the where and why and how to use them, at least from a ground perspective. We'll get into the actual nitty-gritty and potatoes of it when we get there, but air-to-ground rockets. Why would you want to use rockets versus, say, air-to-ground missiles? Let's start there. I think the simplest answer comes down to what kind of target are you facing? Is it a bunch of trucks and jeeps? Then why waste an air-to-ground missile when you can fire maybe 2 or 3 rockets that you can carry far more of than the missiles, right? I think really that boils down to boom for buck. You know, I can carry 3 Mavericks on the one pylon versus 3 launch tubes with 7 rockets each, as we'll see, of whatever given rocket warhead I want. So really it's just more economical if you're facing light targets or unarmored targets, right? Jeeps, certain types of Humvee, that kind of stuff. And really, also you want to think about what you're facing off against, because you don't really have that much range. You do get access to a CCRP delivery method. Oh, there we go. So you can see some F-18 friends off. Probably going to do a cap mission. But yeah, you can use CCIP for most employment situations. You do, however, like I said, get access to CCRP. This gives you a little more accuracy, even though the rockets themselves are unguided. Helps you hit a target point and say you have danger close with some friendlies that are within the area. But really, this is good for saturation type attacks or convoys, right? I'm going to strafe a convoy, I'm going to hit them with a bunch of rockets. I've got a fuel dump somewhere that's not underground in a hidden bunker, say it's under tents or something. Perfect for that. Why waste a missile unless you can't get that close and you need to use the range of a Maverick? Then by all means, you have to use the Maverick. But if you don't have to be that close, why waste it? Use the rocket. So why don't we go ahead, we're going to pop open our rearmament screen here because we haven't picked anything yet. And we'll take a look at what pylons we can load these on. Now typically you can load these on anywhere from pylons 2 to 4, and then from 8 all the way up to 10. But 2 and 10 you can only take single launch tubes. And those tubes come in either the LAU 131 or the LAU 68. I believe the 68 is the older of the 2 launch pod types. They're both basically the same thing. Now this list might look really, really daunting, but it's really not that bad because it's a lot of the same thing repeated over and over and over again. And while we're here, we can start right at the top, and we'll see that the first one there is a Mark 151, which is an HE or high explosive type warhead. Right below that, we'll get the Mark 156. This is a white phosphorus type head. You'll get the Mark 257, which is a para-illumination. The Mark 274 practice smoke. The Mark 1, which is another type of practice round. You have the Mark 5 heat, which is a different type of high explosive round. The Mark 61 practice. And the WTU-1/B practice. So there's a bunch of practice ones in here that you'll likely very never see. Really, you're going to use the HE, the white phosphorus, and the heat rounds most often. You may even want to use the illumination if you're on like a search and rescue type mission, right? Same thing, the practice smoke is good for marking targets if you're on like a forward air control. But yeah, only 1 pod, 7 rockets in each, only 1. And you'll see under air-to-ground missiles, we can take Hydras in the guided APKWS, which we'll talk about in a further video. Moving into pylon 3, you'll see that the list is much larger, but it's the same list of warheads, just different flavors of how many we're carrying. And once again, I can either take 3 LAU 68 or 3 LAU 131, giving you 21 rockets per pylon, and that can be done on both pylons 3 and 4. We're going to go ahead and arm up on pylons 9 today. The 151 HE and 3. And we're also going to put a T-pod on Station 10. And some air-to-air missiles. For balance. on the right-hand side. Now, we could take some additional ones if we wanted, but we don't really need to, so we'll just go ahead and go.
Request
Okay.
refueling.
And we'll hop outside the jet, wait for them to
Request
rearm.
rearming.
Let them do their thing, and we'll be
Copy.
back in just a hot moment. Now, with the jet rearmed, we're going to have to do one crucial step before we take off, and that is tell the jet that it is in fact rearmed with something, because of course we started this mission with nothing on any of our pylons. So let's go over to DSMS and we'll see, uh-oh, nothing there. Confirmed with the red boxes. So we'll go load, unload all, and we'll let DTS update. This is a really useful step and a good practice. Why I don't necessarily always with training missions pre-arm my jets. I will let them load and then go through the process of updating the weapon stores, if that's possible. You know, some jets it's not possible, so I'll start with the stores on them because I don't want to bother with the lengthy process of fixing that. Back to DSMS, we'll verify. Yep, we'll see that there. Let's go ahead and go TGP, set TGP to warm up, and we'll see that it starts doing its thing. Back to stat, or not stat, CPU. And on the left-hand MFD, let's go ahead and focus on that for just a second. You'll see that we can view our rockets on pylons 9 and 3, and that they are in fact Mark 151s. And right now they're really not doing anything. And you can manually select these with the OSB buttons, or using DSMS, so it's your DSMS switch left and right, you can select them thusly. And being the only weapons we have for ground attack, it's the only profile we can select. Now, zoom in just a little better here. Going over to profile, we can make a number of adjustments, such as whether we want to fire them in single, which is the current mode, pairs, single ripple, which is one after the other in a salvo, pairs ripple, which is probably the more fun for saturating a target area, and back to single. Down below we can change our mode from CCIP to CCRP. You can go into deeper settings like minimum release altitude and that kind of stuff. Let's return up. And I can't remember what new does. I think that just makes a new profile if I remember correctly, but not really what we need to do. We're going to go ahead, we're going to go single ripple, and I want to set the quantity to 10. So we're going to go 1, 0, and you can see that appear in our scratch pad. And we'll go ripple quantity. Save. Back to stat. We'll see that that's set up there. Singles, quantity, 10. Very easy to use, very, very intuitive. And obviously with the HOTAS functions, easy to get to as well. But beyond that, we're going to go ahead and hop up into the air and get into position to hit our target run, which of course our friend the General has always agreed to be our target for the day. And we'll see if we can't pop him with a couple rockets. I'll hop into the air and be right back. Alright, my friends, now they're about 4,000 feet, 4,600 actually in this case. We'll go ahead and throw altitude hold on. And our target is about 11 o'clock or so. Okay, you can see him. And we've got our rocket selected here, but we're not yet ready to fire because we're going to have to go master on. And at this point, everything's ready to go for our initial salvo here. And when we dive in, we're going to see some symbology pop up on the HUD. We'll take off our autopilot. Pretty good range to walk this in here. And you'll see the CCRP pipper come into view. And as you would expect, the idea is put the dot in the middle on the target and hold the weapon release button. And you'll see, much like the gun pipper, there are two rings, outside and inside, and like the gun, the inside at about a mile or so is going to start coming down, indicating we're at good range. 2-degree dive, things coming down, holding weapon release, salvo's done, break away from target. And you'll see what I meant there with the saturating an area with fire. Not great for one target, really good for lots of targets. But still a good choice if they have no armor. So the general survived our first one there. So why don't we go ahead, we're going to gain some distance again in the general. And we'll come in for a CCRP attack instead. Because that's going to be just a little bit different. Alright, we're going to throw on autopilot for a second. We're targeting pod. Now, I could target him with the targeting pod. Or, actually, I got a better idea. We're going to try something with our joint helmet mounted system here by going coolly down short to the speed marker change there, or soy marker rather. We're going to go ahead, we're going to gain a little bit of altitude here. Or just a bit more thinking time. We're going to start to roll in on our target area as well. Because I can make a SPI with my helmet system simply by looking at an area and marking it. With TMS along like that. So that is our SPI now, which is sensor point of interest for those of you who do not remember. And it's pretty close to the general, but I think we can do a little better. You know, coolly right along, select our pod. We're going to walk the diamond that's on the HUD. We're going to put it over the general's area there. We can use DMS to log in. I'll go TMS short to lock it. There he is. We're going to get an accurate fix on him here. TMS lock. So we've made a new speed. Let's go ahead, we'll break off again. And that's pretty close to the general, so this should work relatively well for our purposes. Let's go ahead, get some range again on him. Doesn't really matter what direction or azimuth I'm going to go from here. Although I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to run along this way and attack him that way. While we're going this way, let's go ahead and we're going to go back to profile, change to CCRP, save, stat, and you'll notice that the symbology on the HUD immediately changed to CCRP. And this is going to look really familiar because it looks almost the same as the last Pipper, but it's not. It is different. It's giving us different information. It's not giving us optimal range to the impact point. It's giving us optimal range to the maximum launch point, I guess is the best way to look at it. So long as we light up all of our shooting cues, it should be relatively accurate. Alright, we're about 5 miles away. Let's go ahead and roll around. And you'll see on the left side of the HUD, we're getting our shooting cue there, which is telling us where to put our Pipper. And it'll show us whether or not we need to loft, or whether we need to dive, what we need to do. As you guys will see coming up. We're going to go ahead and change in here. And just as we come into range, we'll get a second steering cue, and that's on the actual Pipper itself. And that's basically an azimuth steering line there. And as it gets into view, we'll line things up. There we go. And we can see our target point down there. We're about 12 seconds to launch. And you can see that it wants us to launch at an arc, as I said, because it's going to show us the optimal point here. Follow it. Oh, now it wants us to come back down again. So we're within range. Now we're just waiting for the rockets to be actually in range. We're going to keep following it accurately as we can. Alright, so it is going to have us dive in on the target. Doing our best to keep everything lined up. And we should be good. Hit with another salvo there. Oh, good hits, but I don't think that was enough to actually do him in. But you guys get the idea, right? Much better for something that is capable of shooting back at you, or where accuracy is a little more key. But yeah, I hope you guys found that useful and handy, and we'll see you guys in the air. Thanks, and have a great day. Bye-bye.